in a time when things are tough, we will be talking about resiliency, courage, and the importance of selecting and seeking support so we can get out of our own way. This book and this interview is with K.M. Bush. Her book, You Can Do Tough Things. We're going to get into it. Again, we get to reach out to our children, our youth, and overall, people who are struggling, and discuss vulnerable stories. Let me bring her on. First of all, what's the M for?
M is my first name, but I go by K.
Okay, good. So what's the M for?
It's Mary is my first. My full name is Mary Kathleen, but somehow got down to K.
So you're a Mary K. No, come on.
Yeah, I'm a Mary K.
Welcome to the show. Okay, so your book. Tell us the title, because I want to hear you say it.
The title is You Can Do Hard Things, Life Tools for Teens.
Just so giving and also so important at this time. All right, so okay, the book. You can do tough things. You can do hard things. Give me a second. And tell us why. Tell us about the book. Let's get into. I really want to get into the stories of the students that are in the book and a little bit about the book. What made you write the book? And tell us. Let's get into the stories.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. The book really has been something that in my over 40 years of working with teens and children and families, that it's just always been something that I've had a sense in my head and my heart that there were things I was learning from the teens in front of me. And along the way, and as they experience very difficult situations, I worked in hospital settings and group support settings and education settings in schools. And always being that person who was very glad to be able to sit and listen and support the young person in front of me. And in hearing those hard stories, I was also always hearing their desire to get through it, to be happy, to have some control over the tough situation in their life. And I was always seeing that. At some point, I was seeing that they had incredible resiliency and they had incredible things to decide on their own of a plan of how to manage the tough situations. So from that, it just continued to be the lessons I learned, that I was learning from the teens in front of me, that they can identify how to get through hard things. I simply provided a space and provided a safe space to hear their story. And then I empowered them to, think of their plan and think of what would help them to take charge of their situation, even if it was just a little bit, if it was something small, but it would be something. It would be something that they would start to feel more control over their situation. And it just eventually came around where they said, I think I can try this. I think I can keep going. I think I can try. And I knew idea. And I said, you can do it. You can do hard things. And that's really truly where that was. I have said that so many times to the young person in front of me, and their face would light up and they'd sit up straighter and they'd say, yeah, I got this. I could do hard things. And so from that, this book evolved as a message that I just, with all my years, that I hope for this message to reach all teens. And I've also heard it may be a message for everyone at all ages. But
you're a high school teacher, right?
A school counselor.
Oh, you were a school but it was high school.
I actually had experiences in all schools, in elementary, middle school, and high school. I finished my last years in education. I finished at the high school level, so that's really where I really enjoyed the teens at that level. But I learned from all of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, okay, let's get into it because the kids are having a hard time. We're all having a hard time. And the first thing that, let's get into that, you're not alone. And what would you say to someone that's struggling and taking that first step, taking the courage, being courage to reaching out to someone, and also to who can you trust?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying the word courage. I think that is, well, it is the number one tool in the book, is having courage. And you can have courage, because that is where it starts. And that young person who, whatever is that situation, whatever is that tough situation, it's having that courage to speak up and say something's hard, and talking to a trusted adult. So as a school counselor, I had students coming to my office door, and I always immediately recognized their courage, that they were showing up, and they were asking for someone to listen, and they were asking for help. So in those moments, I always acknowledge, good jobs, showing up, and thanks for saying what you need to say out loud, and always encouraging that. But trusted adults are the best to find that person who can be that sounding board. And also, we have national crisis lines that I reinforce all the time for young people to call, for anyone to call. 988 is a resource line that they will answer 24/7, and they will listen. So I reinforce all the time that you're not alone. There's always somebody to listen.
Okay, so what is 988?
It's a national crisis line that, similar to 911, we all know 911 when there's a medical emergency. 988 came around a few years ago as that simple number that everybody can remember, that's the number you can call, and wherever you are, it will be routed to your area, your phone, the area code that your phone has. And that will be that local crisis center that will answer. And there will be a licensed crisis therapist who will answer, and they will be able to support you with whatever is going on.
So looking through the lens of a student that, and it's always that first step that's so important, that my counselors are too busy, or they won't have time for me, or what do you say to take that first step? What would you say to a young adult being on the other side, as staff, as a counselor, that they're looking like, no, they're not there for me, as a whole, as being a part of many different schools and different working with different teams? What is the culture on the other side, so the kids get to know, yes, that they may look busy, but as being receiving them, what does that look like for someone looking in?
I think if I understand your question in terms of when I was in the school setting, yes, school counselors are busy and we are always on the go. But we reinforce from the very beginning of school, we reinforce in every conversation that if there's a crisis, if there's something going on, please come and we had different lines of communication where they could talk with our front office person and let them know something's going on. At least on our team in our counseling center, we had 4 counselors who could step up and be available. So we had, all schools generally have procedures to see when a student is in crisis, they will step up, and all things, schedules, class changes, all those other things get put aside. If a student is in crisis, there are procedures and schools will step up to helping them. If a student truly feels that there's not anybody they can go to, I mean, I think I'm understanding that, yes, sometimes we do have students who think I'm not going to go to talk to that person. They're going to call my parents or, something like that. So, that's why we also reinforce the 988 number.
Okay.
That's a number you can call and just talk to somebody. Locally, where I live, we also have local crisis numbers, but that 988 will always get routed to that local crisis number. So it's very simple, and we keep it simple. Just call somebody.
So what, off the top of your head, what tell us about an amazing story, even tell us something humorous and that really still sticks with you.
Of working with the different students. I loved them. I loved working with all of them, all of their amazing personalities and so unique. I was able to drop into that high school yesterday, by the way, and I was able to drop in and gift my book to each of the graduating seniors. So that was a really fun experience, and I got to see their great faces as they get ready to graduate. But gosh, so many stories of if I'm thinking of something humorous. I mean, I was probably the butt of the joke, and probably made sure that I always showed that side of me with students that I make mistakes and I goof up and I trip upstairs and I might call you a different student's name or something like that. And we always found humor in all interactions and found fun in all interactions.
From the book, what was a piece of vulnerability and allowed you to grow? Can you share a story that through your vulnerability and supporting a student? Tell us your favorite story.
Well, I'll share the story of, really, this was a book for me that I needed. This was a book I needed when I was in high school. And it took me a little bit as I worked on crafting this book and putting together the message I wanted it to be, that it was all about the 40 years of students I've seen and young people that I worked with. And it was all about those stories. And it did, at some point, hit me, but what about me when I was in high school? And I had to really sit and reflect on what was the hard thing for me in high school? What was that hard thing I had to overcome or to manage and figure out? And what it was I was an extremely shy person as a child. And I wasn't an introvert. I loved getting out. I loved doing things. I loved being a part of everything, but I was shy and I was afraid to speak up. And so that was my hard thing of when I realized I wasn't having fun, because I was just faded to the background and nobody noticed me because I never spoke up. So my hard thing was learning how to speak up and learning how to put myself in some of the conversations and how to say, I'd like to do that and speak up and I'd like to join the fun. And so it was a huge process for me. But by my junior year in high school, I was finally overcoming that and finally finding my steps, which are a big part of the book, are my small actions that would help me and my small plans that would help me every day to kind of join in the fun. And it worked. So that was my personal story and just how I had to overcome my own hard thing and I had to work hard at it.
So what are tools in the book would you recommend to help teens facing tough times today?
What are the tools? Is that what you asked? Yeah. There are 8 tools in the book. They are all very useful and probably should try to use all tools. They don't need to be used in order, except for that courage. Tool number 1. Of having courage to just try some new things and think out of the box and get out of your comfort zone. But all 8 tools are needed ultimately, but they are reachable. They are attainable to think, and because the book also provides space for the teen reading the book, it provides a space for them to make it make sense for their life, and a place for them to write down exactly what that tool is. And, if it's courage, how will courage show up for me? How do I need to make sure courage will show up for me today? What do I need to do? What are the actions? For me as a high school student, I had to decide I have to get brave. I've got to take a deep breath, and I've got to speak up. And that was my small step for the day. I have this plan when I first walk into school, I'm going to talk to somebody. And that was my plan. So all of the tools are helpful and all useful for a teen to manage whatever is their situation.
Okay, 3 top takeaways from the book that when a student or parent or both read the book, these are the 3 things that they can walk away with and implement in their lives.
I've already heard reviews from people who have read the book, and they are seeing it as a can-do book and very concrete steps for the teen to their takeaway is they can apply this to their life, and it's all in their control. It's all in their power to take their steps and make that tool work for them, and they can take charge of what they need to do. There is a section for the parents in the back. It is a book for the teens. It is a book for them, but there's a section for the parents because there's so much in adolescent development that is about their relationship with their parents. And so there's some thoughts for the teen to consider, how do I get the support of my parents and make sure they're supporting me, and how they need to, show up a little bit and let their parents know more about them. And then there's a letter to the parents in the back of the book, asking the parents, to do the same. How can they show up for their teen? How can they learn their skills of how they can support their teen in front of them? So
I love that. So first of all, takeaway, it gives them back control.
Yes, it gives them tools. They have tools. They've got.
And then the other is that it enables parents to be able to work with their team together. It's empowering.
Yes. I reinforce all the time. This is all I ever did in my careers in face to face with the families is, every family has to find their way together, and how can they find their way to understand each other, to grow with each other, and ultimately to be on the same team together. And there's a lot that goes on through adolescent development, but it can happen. And a family of parents can understand their teen, teens can understand their parents, and they can find their way to be on the same team. So along the way.
Final thought. One message that you could say to teens out there that are lonely, that are feeling overwhelmed, that are hurting, what would you say to them?
I would encourage them to please find a trusted adult to talk about it, to absolutely, so that they can say what they need to say and say it out loud. I would say you're not alone. You do have support. Giving up is not an option, and there are so many ideas. There's so many possibilities. But get with a trusted adult and have that sounding board. Get somebody to be your sounding board and start making your plans of some small actions to start feeling that life is in your control, and not give up.
So it all starts with, again, take the step, stand in your courage, and reach out so you don't have to do it alone.
Yes.
So how can people find you? What's next? And do you have a gift for us, or what does that look like?
Gosh, what's next? It's taking off since the book launch, May 1st. The book took off. Number one international bestseller in 3 countries, and it's been so exciting, but it is taking off. I'd like to reach schools. I'd like to reach the young people. I'd like to, as I did yesterday, I gave these graduating seniors all a copy of the book. I feel so reassured that they are going out into the world with a tool book. This book is a tool book for them, and they have a resource in front of them to refer to and remind them that they can get through hard things and get, take charge of their lives. So how people can reach me, my website is youcandohardthings.today. And from there, you can see my social media platforms and my email as well. I encourage any and all conversations about empowering our young people and helping them manage the tough things of our world today. And I encourage that conversation. I look forward to supporting schools, supporting groups, wherever these young people are. I hope to be able to connect with them.
Okay. Everyone, that's all for now. Again, you can do hard things. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much.